Welcome to the Avoiding Chores podcast. I'm your host, Jim Sear. In this podcast, we talk about outdoor recreation, Garmin news, Garmin comments off of avoidingchores.com or gps.training, and what I've been doing to avoid chores the last few days. All right, Q&As. This is where I look at some comments posted on the YouTube channel or on avoidingchores.com or gps.training. Lots of Garmin news. So we'll start with the question and answer here. So we got Debbie, who commented here that happy to see one of my most recent videos on the Garmin Vivo Active 4 VNU, how to use the yoga activity. And I also uploaded the how to use the Pilates settings on that Garmin smartwatch. It does, the thing that's important about that is you can enable animation videos to help you with movement. So if you're doing a preloaded workout, that's the other thing too. They have preloaded workouts on the watch, and in order to help you do these workouts, you may not know all the moves. You can actually see little animation videos of how to do the movement. So that's kind of cool. Let's see. We got one here. Steven was commenting here on the Garmin Fenix Waypoint video that I did a few years ago. It says here, I recently bought a Fenix 2. It doesn't look like the Swatch. He says here that I have tried the Garmin manual also, but not able to save a waypoint when hiking mode as yet. May say hold down the down button, but I get a blank screen. So I think the question for that is, yes, the Fenix 2 did change a lot from the original Fenix and Tactics, but it should be the same thing. Hold the down button. It could be the up button. I'm gonna have to check the manual and give you a little feedback. But yeah, usually it's the main button you use to either start activity. Press and hold that. I should take a look at that. I'm gonna flag that. Let's see here. We got another one here on Terry. She comments on the Garmin Forerunner 230 or 235, the data screen or data customization screens. In my run and other activity, I can see 3 fields at once, but on bike, I only can get 1 field. Is there a way to change from 1 to 3 fields on at the same time? My layout on bike seems to have 1 field at a time option. So basically, for each of the activities that you do, and this applies on the 230 and 235. If you're doing like bike activity, you can customize the data screens for that activity. As I tend to remember, that model allows you to kind of break out those activities. And yeah, so all you need to do is as you choose bike, I think is you key up. You press the up button, and that will get you to the settings menu. And then from there, you should be able to access the data screens and to be able to customize. So you're going to need to do 2 things. You're going to need to, once you get into the data screen settings menu, you need to edit the layout to change from 1 field to 3, and then get to edit, and then you gotta select each field and make sure that it is the data field that you want. All right. Now let's see here. Another question here. This is from Banjak. He commented on my Forerunner 35, how to enable auto lap or manual lap key. He still has some questions here. The main purpose of my watch is to be used when I ride motocross on tracks. I want to count my laps and give me lap times using the GPS tonight. I did try the bike workout with auto lap and gave me 2-3 laps when I did like 15. The total time was good, but not my time for each lap. Do you have a solution for me? Now that is a good application use. So he basically wants to use the running watch to help him with his motocross laps. So the question is, so you can do 2 things with that. The auto lap, you can do distance. You can do Because the Forerunner 35 is fairly limited in the options. You can only do like 1 mile or 1 kilometer based on your unit settings. You don't have the ability to set a custom distance like you do on some of the higher models, like the 200 series and upwards. So I would have to take. Actually, I do have the 35. The Missus still uses it, so I'm gonna have to take a look at that one here. The other thing I can figure out here, if he's doing the course in the woods and based how the watch is, it may or may not be getting a good signal, and it may be messing up that way. Yeah, we might need a little bit more information on that one there. I'll have to rub some butter on that one. All right, so let's see what else we got here. We got comment here from Rauf. Comments on the Garmin Instinct, how to calibrate the compass and adjust the settings. It says here, please, why should calibrate the compass? Basically, the reason why you want to calibrate the compass at least once is to make sure if you're doing point-to-point navigation that the electronic compass is fairly accurate. I found with the Instinct that out of the box calibration is working just fine. Very little difference with it. And I think I've done a few videos, maybe not with the Instinct, but a few other models where I actually had a real compass and I did like sight and go kind of compares using that. So it's not much of a difference. If it is, probably just user error in terms of reading the compass gauge. So I would say the Instinct, I would say you don't necessarily need to calibrate it. But I believe on the Instinct there is a couple options to auto calibrate, but usually you saw that on older models where every time you flip the batteries you needed to calibrate the compass. And but I would say if you don't need to, you don't need to, unless you're doing navigation and you know what you're doing and you really say that, hey, I am actually off by quite a bit. That's when you want to do it. Let's see, Physical Excellence comments on the Garmin Instinct interval workout. So he asks here, how to change data screens in the interval. I was able to change data screens in running, but can't find the way to change the data screens in intervals. I want to add 2 fields in screen and distance and pace. So basically, you can't really, because you're really just doing a run activity, and the run activity controls that. Even though you're doing like an interval workout in the run activity, then you can't have a subset of data fields. So if you're doing like walk, you can customize it. You can do run, you can have a totally different set of layouts, bike, etc., etc. So the fact that you're doing an interval workout, you're going to be using the run settings that you set up here. All I would say for that is I would just turn on the additional screen. So we usually have 3 data screens plus the heart rate monitor. I would turn on some of the other screens and customize it for that. And then you don't turn on auto scroll. And then when you're doing your workout, you just you just swipe up or you menu to switch to the right screen you want for interval, for example. Let's see here. Daniel comments on the Vivo Active 4, how to track water intake with the hydration widget. Just a slight correction for your visual. The auto adjust goals adjust your goal depending on how much Garmin thinks you have sweat from exercise that day. It's not based off of how much you drank the previous few days. So that is a good comment. Now, I did read the manual when I did that video, so it could be been adjusted, but it's good. It's good correction there. All right, let's see. Jubilee. Okay. So this was on the eTrex 22 deep dive into waypoints. Great tutorial. It would help if people working on Garmin who knew how to spell, though. They misspell meter. They're using the U.S. English spelling of meter, which is E-R, not R-E. And a little comment on using proper English. They're using American spelling, so certain words a little different. Let's see here. Let's see. Phil comments on the Vivo Active 3 on how to adjust heart rate monitor settings. It says here you have to set the widgets to add HR before anything will be displayed. That may be accurate. I don't remember when I did the heart rate settings video, if that was after the reset. I tend not to customize the watch when I do the videos. I usually do resets fairly often, so that is out of the box settings, but if he looks at it recently, things may have changed since time of recording. A couple more Fitbit Alta on the reset videos. If you're listening to the podcast last little while, you know that this comes up every week. Got 2 of them in a row. And I think that's it. That's it for comments. If you do have some comments, just take a visit to gps.training, leave a comment on one of the videos, or just leave a message here for the podcast. Big Garmin news this week, or last week or so. We may have missed it. First thing, of course, is the big ransomware attack that crippled their Garmin Connect services for almost a week. This is where somebody inside Garmin clicked on the wrong email or on the wrong link, and a malware got installed and encrypted the system. So this is a ransomware attack that doesn't seem to have any vulnerabilities. So it sounds like, via The Verge, that they did pay the $10 million to get the decryption key so that they can regain access to their systems. Now, if you've been following this, you probably noticed that it's been kind of muted. Not a lot of people have been commenting on it, and I will comment to say that Garmin did a terrible job at communicating to its customers about the outage. Not even an email blast, very vague, poor use of Twitter. They did have a fact page set up, but that was hard to find. They didn't do anything. They didn't put anything on their websites to guide you to it. So it was very haphazard. And also, on their fact page, they were very, very vague to see exactly what was affected, whether or not we had they access customer data and all that stuff. So, and that concerns people like me, who has about 15 years of health data up at Garmin, and realizing that maybe their internal security isn't that strong. And me, because of my job, I get to work on other customers' site for very large organizations, and quite a few of them are, they do take the security very seriously. A lot of corporate policies to lock down machines and stuff like that. So, the fact that a company of the size of Garmin got attacked, I'm a little bit worried about their overall infrastructure. Considering that inReach around the same time had about a day or two intermittent messages issue, which makes me wonder whether or not the inReach systems are totally secure. So I'll be honest, man, I'm currently wearing the Vivo Active 4, and I'm very on the fence whether or not I want to keep using Garmin products to monitor my health data. I would almost start considering getting an Apple Watch, right? Because Apple seems like they focus a little bit more on privacy. Yes, there was that little iCloud hack for celebrities a little while ago, but you see what they've been doing lately with the settings, especially if you've been downloading the iOS 14 public betas. They really put a focus on privacy and all that stuff. So is this the pivot? This is what people need? The other thing too is Garmin is not slowing down on releasing very expensive watches, right? We've seen the Phoenix 6 Solars version, which is well above $1,000. I don't know who's going to buy that. And of course, you have these middle of the range models, which is still $300 to $400, depending on what you're looking for. Then you got the really entry models that are very limited and hobbled. That makes you want to upgrade. You need to upgrade if you ever wanted to pursue stuff. So, yeah, very poor form from Garmin with the attack. I'm getting a little bit more, cynical on that. However, that being said, they did announce a new product. They announced the Montana 700. This is their big ass handheld. This is absolutely huge. This is a 5-inch touchscreen GPS. Of course, now they're with all the handhelds, they're adding in inReach technology. Hence why it's so big. So the 750i is your Montana with the inReach. Also includes an 8 megapixel camera. Currently retails, if you want the top of the line, it is $1,170 Canadian, which is absolutely insane price. If you don't want the inReach, you're looking at the 700, which is $870. It is still ridiculous. It is about $100 more than the GPS Map 66 ST. If you wanted the 700 with the camera, and I guess there's really no option. You really got to take the inReach version or not. I will purchase the 700. As you know, I've been focusing on handhelds last little while, so I will get that. So this is going to be fairly interesting here. So you do have your touch screen. It is built apparently ruggedly. You do have your topo maps on it. You do have your public land boundaries. You got the Bird's Eye satellite, which is now a free service now. And, of course, you have all the radios to connect to your smartphone with Garmin Explorer, in which you're connected to the Wi-Fi. You're able to get some weather forecasts like you did on the Map 66. And also the Montana 700 or 750i. It also is compatible with the Astro and Alpha models. That means if you have hunting dogs and stuff like that, you don't need to have those older models. You can just upgrade the GPS and use it with your dog tracking devices, which is really interesting. You also have the multi GPS support, GPS, GLONASS, and Galileo. You can have your live track feature on Garmin Connect. You have expedition mode. It has 18 hours of battery life, which is a rechargeable lithium battery pack. You can also put in traditional AA batteries and all the mounts. So, yeah, that looks pretty interesting if you wanted to look for a handheld. So I got an email a few days ago from Todd. This is an individual that I worked with, well over 10 years ago on a couple pilot projects here. He was working with a federal agency. I was able to do quite a few things with him. He was a good supporter back when I was doing geocaching in the day, but he sent an email the other day asking some feedback on Garmin inReach. And they were considering buying some for the office and looking at some of this stuff. So I've been kind of mentioning to him that I've kind of been pivoting over to the ZOLEO, which is, I think it's mostly run in North America by in Canada. And this is just focusing on the messaging aspect of the device. And so I basically kind of pointed him to a page that I had set up here on avoidingchores.com, where I basically had, the intro video, and then I had a table where I kind of did a quick cost of ownership, 12-month cost of ownership between the ZOLEO, the Garmin inReach, and the Spot. And I think I was using US pricing here. I may have to review this and update it on it here. So he obviously has a preference to use an inReach Mini, and then he wanted to buy 5, and then we were talking about it. So the ZOLEO device is about $200. inReach Mini would be $350. So obviously you save some money on the car's hardware. Now where things get a little bit more tricky is the 12-month subscription. So I picked middle of the road service plan, and this was a few months ago. I'm gonna have to go and check here, make sure the plans are updated. But basically, 12-month subscription, I used the middle service plan, and Spot had the best monthly or annual subscription, which is around $19.95 a month. Garmin inReach had about $25 a month plan, and the ZOLEO was $35 a month. Now, the big thing with that is that, and I mentioned in the reply, is that why should I pay more for a subscription? It's because, well, you actually have a way more generous message allocation with that middle service plan. And because the whole ZOLEO, the way the messaging smartphone app works, is that it will figure out the lowest cost method to send your message, send and receive messages. So if it just happens that you're in a cell zone, then it will send the messages via that way. If you just happen to be outside of the zone, then it will send by satellite. So you could probably get away by taking the cheaper plan, and based on where you're going, you may not be using your satellite allocation all the time. So that makes it a little bit more flexible. The other thing too is the activation fees all the same. They're a little bit more flexible with the suspension of services. So let's say you only use it in the winter, you don't use it in the summer, or vice versa. They have a flat $4 a month fee. With inReach and Spot, you do have to have like Flex and Freedom plans, which is about $25 if you take a different service plan. But other than that, you can do the same thing. You can do check-ins, you can do SOS. inReach and ZOLEO uses the Iridium network, so it has the GEOS monitoring. You got both inReach and ZOLEO uses the weather via dark sky. ZOLEO gives you dedicated SMS and email addresses. inReach doesn't. Or I guess they don't really give you the dedicated SMS. For navigation, you can't do navigation with the ZOLEO or the inReach Mini. The IP rating for dust and water, IP68 for the ZOLEO, IPX7. And when you read through the IPX or the IP ratings, IPX mean that it doesn't have something, shock resistance or something. The X means that it doesn't have the value. But you have IP and then a number, then you're a little bit better. You have water and dust resistance. So I would say that the ZOLEO is a little bit better than the Spot, which the Spot only has the IP67. And of course, battery life is huge. ZOLEO has about over 200 hours of battery life. I tested it over the winter. The inReach Mini only have 35 hours, and the Spot has 240 hours. So it's really kind of a big toss-up as to what you wanted. So for me, I would probably lean towards the ZOLEO because it's funny. One of the follow-up questions is like, well, is the ZOLEO compatible with Safety Line, which is a smartphone app that you can plug in with your inReach to do basically all the features that you used to do on EarthMate, which the ZOLEO messaging app actually does. So my reply was, you don't need this Safety Line application because the messaging app does it all. So you don't have to worry about that. The package is all there. And plus, working with them for the last little while, there's some features in the pipeline that will probably make the ZOLEO a way more interesting device coming forward, probably towards the end of the year or whatever. So I don't know, I haven't seen the latest reply that you sent back from my feedback, but I'm not the salesman. I don't get a commission or anything like that. So basically, if you want my opinion, I would rather use the ZOLEO on top of the inReach, and because you get more bang for the buck, and the devices are a hell of a lot cheaper. And we are into August. Summer is almost done. Almost getting ready to send the kids to school. Don't know about you guys, but man, I can't wait to see what kind of shenanigans things are going to happen after the first couple weeks, depending where you live. I think Nova Scotia is not too bad right now, but luckily we've had a good month and a half of experience with sending the little one to her after-school place or her summer camp for a couple days a week. Be interesting to see what they're doing for the fall. I have a feeling we're going to be dropping off the kids at school rather than get her to go on the bus. And she gets on the bus, I think she's the first stop of the run, so it's like super early anyway, so we may want to change that. But basically we put the house up for sale, closed in 2 days. Well, closed, we've put it on the market for 2 days. We received, I believe, 6 submitted offers, all well above the asking price. And we actually left money on the table because the offer, we had a combination of offer and closing terms that was way more helpful for us. So I picked that. And we closed actually the house last week, I think. I can't remember. It's all blurred. And we put the final decisions for the new house in terms of building materials and colors and styles and all that stuff. So that's all done, and I visited the lot this morning, so they got everything kind of cut out. We have quite a bit of wood around our lot, so they kind of cut a nice square U shape for the lot, and they started pouring some cement or concrete. So I would say at the end of the month things should look fairly nice. I actually went this morning, tried to bring the drone. I have this Mavic Mini I've had for like a year and have not had an opportunity to use it anywhere. But this week seems to be the week where I can actually go somewhere and actually use it. But I've been getting some problems. I updated the firmware on it because I always like to update firmware, but it seems to have a problem disconnecting. And what I mean by disconnecting, I mean that, so the Mavic Mini, you have the drone, you have a remote control, and then at the bottom of the remote control, you slide up your cell phone or your smartphone, plug it in so that you can actually see where you're flying using the display of the phone and have all the controls and stuff. So what's happening is that the connection to the smartphone is breaking, but the remote controls still work. Now, that kind of sucks because when I take the drone out, I want, one, I gotta see where I'm going, and two, I want to shoot video. So I wasn't quite sure if I was doing it, and I was wasting a lot of time. And I've been noticing this problem when we went out visiting the folks there last week. But yeah, so anyway, I couldn't quite do my shot. I did get a few seconds when I took off the drone, but anyway, things are moving fine. I think we've kind of good. I think the missus, she's going back on her decisions. I think we're going to be fine. And of course, we did the 2-hour walkthrough at IKEA with our masks and all that stuff. Luckily, when at that time there wasn't a lot of people, so we were able to get through fairly good. And we built up our shopping list, and yeah, it's going to be there's going to be a lot of stuff. And then, of course, I'm using paper on the iPad to sketch out what I want to do with the home office, because we're going to have 2 offices in the house. This is going to be the new thing, right? Both me and the missus, we're not expected to go back to the office until January, February, March, if ever, or only need to go maybe once or twice a week, right? So we definitely need some home office space. And I've been I get the basement, and I've been kind of sketching out what I want, which is double purpose, which is one, my actual work office for work, computers, and then, of course, man cave kind of thing. So I got something going on here. So we don't have a garage in our new place. We're going to build like a utility shed just to put the snow blower and lawnmower. But other than that, we're going to keep stuff inside the house. So anyway, fun times. But it's funny, it's just like the floodgates. We had friends we haven't talked to in a little while there. They messaged us out of the blue, and they put their house on the market only for 1 day, and they sold. But they're going to do the Airbnb for a month and then move into the new place. And they wanted to know who we picked for movers, so we kind of got a bunch of recommendations for some movers here and sent off that information. But in terms of outdoor recreation, hopefully we can do a little bit. Like I mentioned there, I did a little bit of truck camping the other week. And we were supposed to do family tent camping the week before we had booked out a site at Thomas Riddell, and it didn't quite work out. We had some rain in the forecast, lots of rain in the forecast. I just didn't feel like doing it. So we flipped plans and we visited my folks up in New Brunswick, went through the Atlantic bubble, got wave passed all the time, and a couple of things. Mask usage in New Brunswick, I think I saw 3 people, and of them is from people from Nova Scotia that were wearing the masks. Mask usage was very low, but that might change. A couple of things also is people are very leery when they see cars with license plates that's not part of the bubble. So as you know, in a few places, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, they can do a bubble. Same thing in Atlantic Canada, Newfoundland, Labrador, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. We can all kind of do the bubble. Anytime you see a Quebec or Ontario plate, then people start asking questions. It's funny. So funny because I was visiting the family estate and all that stuff, and went to the farm. Little one wanted to see the cows, milking cows. And I realized one of my cousins was there, and he lives in Montreal. And the question is, how did you cross over, kind of deal. So then, because I didn't see his car at his dad's house, because we all live, when I grew up, all my family lived within a couple houses of each other. So, you knew what was going on. And didn't see his car, and then he was telling me that, social distance, of course, he was telling me that the car's in the garage. He was taking his dad's car, so people didn't want to see his Quebec plates flying around. And I think that's what gets people, the locals, talking to my sister and parents and stuff like that. And that is the general sense, is like, why are you coming over? You're not, yes, it's one thing to drive through to go to the Madeline Islands, to your cabin and stuff like that, but it's stay. But then I read about all these campers going up to the Gaspé this year in Quebec, just trashing the place, overflowing, full of people, too many people, and just not taking care of the environment up there. Very small town, and when it's overrun with RVs and trailers, it creates a little mess. But campgrounds in the Maritimes, fairly open, right? But a lot of people are doing it. We were stopping by yesterday. We decided to do a little picnic, and we decided to head out to Wentworth and to do just a little picnic. There's a little provincial park right past the ski hill where you can just pull off. They have some, flush toilets, a couple of houses, a bunch of picnic tables, a little bit of green space here and there. I think there's a river that kind of goes through. It's a very good park, actually, very nice. So when you're there at a nice summer's day, even in the fall, it's just a fantastic place to stop by and stretch your legs and stuff like that. So that's becoming one of our pit stops. But we decided to actually drive up there, have a little picnic, and even that, there was a fair amount of people doing their picnics and stuff like that. And then we decided to drive up to the Tanamagouche area, and we wanted to do some outdoor stuff. We spent some time outside, and decided to do some kayaking on one of the rivers. Right, it's tied to the Northumberland Strait, so we have some nice salt water to go with the tides. It was high tide in the afternoon, so we're able to go to a spot in the Wallace area. And we're able to do some swimming. The little one did some swimming, brought her life jacket, and able to get in the water. Water was very warm, and that's one of the benefits of the Northumberland Strait. The water is a lot warmer, and plus, overall, the ocean and the Atlantic is a lot warmer. So she's just having fun, escaping from the mosquitoes, and then the missus did a little paddle on the sit-on-top kayak, down a bit and then back. So she was out for a while, actually, so enjoyed it. She kind of needed that outdoor therapy. But I was really focused more on the kayak she was using. So she was using these Pelican kayaks. And I must admit, the Pelican kayaks are interesting me, or they interest me quite a bit, because one, fairly nice designs, fairly inexpensive, and we find them mostly here in Canadian Tire in terms of the stores, and they go on sale fairly bit. So if you wanted to start doing some kayaking, that is essentially the brand to get. And I don't think you see any trucks or any cars going on the highways or down the roads that they don't have either one or two of Pelican kayaks. So there's a couple nice ones there. The Mrs. was riding one of them, nice adult one, nice fairly short, and then there was another one there at the launch. There was a 14-footer, which is the same size as my Ocean Kayak Malibu 2, which was way heavy. I actually sold it a couple weeks ago, about a month ago. And that thing was just way too heavy. It was 72 pounds. And then you read up the specs on the Pelican. It's like 25 pounds lighter. And that makes a big difference when you're hauling things around. So I'm thinking maybe next summer we maybe look at reacquiring some kayaks. And of course, with the lower price point, the Pelican kayaks look pretty interesting to get there if you want something low cost. You can probably get set up, I'll be quite honest with you, you can probably get set up for around $500. Realistically. Kayak, life jacket, paddle, and maybe you might have to splurge a little bit to get the extra seat, right? The clip-on seat. So that should be fairly interesting. And that's it for another episode of the Avoiding Chores podcast. Hope you found it fairly interesting. Lots of Garmin content this week. But now we're back from home. I think we're pretty much done our summer activities. I think now we're going to focus on getting the little one ready for school. And of course, work is changing on my side too. But definitely check out avoidingchores.com, gps.training, YouTube channels. There's going to be some new content getting posted here. I've been uploading some videos. You might find it on the ZOLEO. Like I mentioned earlier, the Montana 700 is probably going to be a new acquisition for the fall in terms of new content. Wrapped up the Vivo Active 4 or Venu, so check those out. And of course, you can always leave me a message here, just going to anchor.fm/avoidingchores, and there should be a little leave message there if you have a question and stuff. And otherwise, we'll talk to you guys next time.